Music recap. Subscribe. Hello everyone. Today I will be sharing a recap of a romantic movie that revolves around two close siblings who are in deep love for each other. The movie explores the intimate relationship that develops between them. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. The movie begins by introducing us to Emily, a young woman walking through the Swiss Alps. The scene switches to Emily with her husband Andres in a car. They drive up to an abandoned house in the woods. A few years ago, Emily's parents passed away, forcing her to look after herself. She took over her father's business with her husband. But now they're struggling to manage their finances, so the couple wants to sell Emily's childhood home for money. With this cash, they can rebuild their business and resolve their problems. While looking through the house, Emily recalls all her lovely childhood memories. Even though she's feeling nostalgic, she still wants to sell the house. That afternoon, Emily's younger brother Jacob comes to visit her since Jacob is studying in a foreign country. The two siblings haven't met each other in a few years. Emily is very excited to see Jacob and even jokes that her little brother is now taller than her. When Emily introduces him to Andreas, Jacob isn't very excited to see him. Instead, he goes to his room without talking to Andres at all. In the middle of the night, Jacob comes to see Emily again and notices that she isn't as happy as she used to be. However, Emily is confused about why her brother came to check on her after midnight the next morning. Emily and Andres try their best to get in touch with potential buyers for the house. Andreas gets on a call with a buyer, but doesn't manage to close the deal since they are new to the area and don't know many people. All their efforts to sell the house are unsuccessful. After that, Andreas has to go back to the city to meet a client for their business. He hugs Emily goodbye before driving away in his car. In the next scene, we see that Jacob's life is more stable than Emily's. He's a professional skateboarder who has already traveled to several cities. Soon after, Jacob is riding his skateboard down the street. When he goes into a store to buy a few things there, he finds a newspaper with a headline that a black panther has been spotted hiding in someone's backyard. He also reads that the local government is asking everyone to stay safe inside their homes because the black panther can be very dangerous. So when Jacob steps outside the store, he runs into Andres. Andres asks him to take care of his sister while he's away for business, but gets annoyed when he sees Jacob's careless attitude. Later, Jacob returns home to find Emily cleaning up the house. As she's throwing away some useless items, Jacob starts talking to her about their plans to sell the house. He tells her that he also has a share of the house and feels that his older sister doesn't care about him anymore. Emily denies this and says that she'll always have a special place in her heart for him. After this, Jacob tells her about the news of the Black Panther because he wants her to be careful around this town at night. Emily felt lonely because Andreas isn't with her, so she starts doing some office work, misses being with her husband, but is also feeling some complicated emotions that she doesn't understand yet. She has feelings for her brother. She goes to her room to sleep. Jacob sneaks up behind her. He stands on the staircase and watches Emily get undressed and change into her sleeping clothes. Next morning, Jacob decides to keep Emily company because he thinks she might be bored alone. He goes to the garage and finds his father's old motorcycle, but it's broken. He spends the next few hours repairing the motorcycle by himself. When he's done, he asks Emily to go on a ride with him. Just like old times, the two siblings ride through the empty roads surrounded by mountains and tall trees. They look happy together and enjoy the scenic views. They end up parking the motorcycle beside a mountain to relax by the rocks. As they lie in the middle of the forest, Jacob starts sharing his feelings with Emily. He confesses that he's been missing her for a while and he's happy to be reunited with her. Now Emily also shares that she wishes to have the same relationship as they did when they were younger. Later, the siblings start walking through the forest while talking about their childhood memories. Jacob tells her about his plans with their father to climb up a mountain to enjoy the beautiful view, but feels disappointed because this plan is only a dream now. Next day, Emily and Jacob were doing some household chores when she starts telling about her and Andre's plans to sell the house. She explains that she needs the cash for their family business, but Jacob doesn't react at all. While the two siblings are still finishing up the chores, they end up very close to each other. At this moment, we find out that Emily and Jacob's love was left as an unfinished story a few years ago when their parents were still alive. After that, the two siblings take a walk through the woods. Surprisingly, Emily feels romantic love for Jacob, even though she's married and Jacob is her younger brother at that moment. Emily starts imagining her and Jacob living together like a couple. However, the moment is interrupted by a group of men hunting in the forest. They're trying to find the Black Panther that Jacob read about in the newspaper, even though there's a D. Angorous, wild animal at large, the two siblings aren't scared at all. They decide to seek shelter together in the woods and spend the night there. When the sun rises, they wake up together to see the morning dove, which makes Emily feel relaxed. Then they decide to hike up the mountain to make Jacob's dream come true, but only after climbing a few rocks. Emily says she's tired and doesn't want to climb any further, so they end up lying on the rocks to enjoy the scenery together. When it finally gets dark, they head back to their childhood home together that night. When Jacob is changing his clothes in his bedroom, Emily walks up behind him, starts unbuttoning her shirt, and removes her bra in an attempt to seduce him. Jacob finally gives in and makes her sit on his lap before they engage in a sexual encounter. The night becomes more and more passionate as Jacob and Emily become intimate with each other. In the next few days, the siblings become closer than ever before. They start spending all their time together and feel like the whole world only belongs to them. One day, Jacob asks Emily if she loves him, and they share a kiss. After that, they head down to a lake and go swimming together. Later, while walking through the forest, Andreas calls Emily to check up on her. Emily declines the call because she's spending time with Jacob, who is more important to her now. After a while, they go back home and find a middle-aged man waiting outside their door. He says he saw the ads for the house and wants to purchase. See it. To Jacob's surprise, Emily doesn't want to sell the house anymore, so she tells the man to call her husband first. That night, Emily goes to Jacob's room and tries to seduce him again. Two siblings engage in a sexual encounter before falling asleep together. The next morning, Jacob tells Emily that he doesn't want to sell the house, so he won't sign the legal papers. Hearing this, Emily becomes very frustrated. Jacob finally understands that Emily is only using him for her own benefit. They get into a heated argument and everything starts to go sideways between them. Even though Emily explains that she isn't using Jacob, he still refuses to talk to her. In the end, he says they should sell the house once and for all, so they never have to see each other again. While Emily is crying in the backyard, Jacob decides to leave her. Emily is all alone in the house with her thoughts and realizes she doesn't want to be away from him. Unfortunately, she must sell the house because her husband needs the money only to run their business. Emily falls asleep alone in the house that night. Andreas wakes her up in the morning and tells her that somebody wants to buy the house, so she needs to pack her things and get ready to leave. As Emily and Andreas are emptying the house, Jacob shows up again, but doesn't say a word to either of them. Instead, he grabs his things from the house and signs the papers. Before leaving, Emily runs to stop him and starts crying in his arms. However, her attempts to change his mind seem to have no effect on Jacob anymore. When Andres looks at them, he realizes that Emily and Jacob are more than just siblings to each other. Jacob ends up leaving anyway, and Emily tells Andres that she won't sign the papers for the house because she doesn't want to sell it. Despite this, Andreas decides to stay with Emily because he loves her. The couple gets into Andres's car to leave the house. On their way, Andres stops his car at a rest station, and Emily is alone in the car. She starts thinking about her relationship with Jacob and signs the papers to sell the house. Even though she knows Andreas loves her unconditionally, she doesn't feel the same way about her husband. So while he's still away, she places the signed papers in his car and leaves. In the final scene of the movie, Andreas realizes that Emily will do anything to be with Jacob. Even though she decided to sell their childhood home, she can never be away from Jacob because their relationship is forbidden. Emily heads into the woods to look for her brother again, and the credits start rolling. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I always love hearing from my viewers, so feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts.